Remember that Jim Reeves song, When Two Worlds Collide? In about 4 billion years from now, two worlds will literally be colliding. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, and our next door neighbor, Andromeda. Now, the various star systems orbiting their black holes in these galaxies are like tiny dots in the vast interstellar space and may pass each other without colliding. But there will be no such good luck for our parent black holes. They are proceeding headlong towards collision, pulling at each other, and they are supermassive, these black holes, by any yardstick you can think of. And when they do collide, it won't be as moderate a collision as the Jim Reeves song suggests. You can rest assured it will be earth-shattering, or rather, black hole-shattering. We have no idea how the orbits will be reoriented and what unforeseen forces will act upon us. But we have a fairly good idea that these forces will be catastrophic in magnitude. And 4 billion years is not so much of a time on cosmic scales. Considering the universe, at least the present aeon of, is just 13.7 billion years old. So if the present age of the universe is considered as 24 hours, then the forthcoming collision is just about 7 hours away. It has taken that much of time, 13.7 billion years, for the human mind to understand where it came from. The human mind understands that in 4 billion years, there is danger from the impending collision. We will not be on the planet Earth at the time. Long before that, our sun would have started increasing in size to eventually become a red giant and engulf the inert planets, and maybe Earth. We would have shifted to another star system by then. And then, well in time before the collision, we will have to calculate with unprecedented accuracy levels, perhaps requiring extremely complex computer simulations to determine which star systems have the best chance of coming out relatively unscathed from that fateful collision and shift to that star system. But are we moving towards that stage of superintelligence? I think we are. In about 100,000 years, we have become intelligent human beings from apes, and there is no reason to believe that in the same period, or even less, we will not become superminds. But the trouble is that these superminds will need containers, such as human bodies, to carry all that information to the distant future. So the human bodies must survive to that distant future. The human mind understands that the human body will on several occasions face danger of extinction from self-destruction. And the first such danger of extinction from self-destruction is just around the corner, just a few centuries from now. And what happens when we self-destruct our civilization? Simple. We all, 7 billion or so, minds or souls, whatever, find ourselves stranded in interstellar space with no idea where to go or where to find another suitable environment to come alive again. So if we are to hope for living long enough to first colonize the galaxy and then living as long as the next 4 billion years and hope to save ourselves and our galactic friends from that fateful collision, we need to first create probabilities on our planet Earth to survive from the immediate danger of self-destruction. And how do we do that? Do we have the formula to do just that?
That formula was found in a seminar held in a parallel universe. That formula was worked out by the great scientists and philosophers of the world, past and present, and captured by S.K. Sagar, who was a guest speaker in that seminar, in his unique insight that was known as a standard model of philosophy. A standard model of philosophy that was successful in changing the mindset of people and in saving the human species from extinction. A standard model of philosophy which has the best chance of bringing about a fusion of science with religion. Two requirements, initial conditions need to be fulfilled in order that the said philosophical model is acceptable to all religions. 1. The established principles of science should not be violated, which means God cannot be in the form of an anthropomorphic physical function God. As in that form, he will not be able to control nature without violating the laws of science created by him. 2. The universe must make sense, which means a God that allows permanent consciousness of the mind must exist. Hence, the non-existence of God is also an impossibility. So, in what form can God exist?
How about an intelligent field, or maybe an omnipresent, infinite mind? Omnipresent, not just in space, but also in time. It travels to and fro in space, as well as in time, and manages to remain in the stelliferous era, where stars are shining, and life and consciousness is flourishing in the galaxies. It never enters the dark and degenerate eras of deep future, for there is no biochemistry over there, where the mind can obtain consciousness. And the intelligent field acts like a guiding force that links probabilities from the classical levels to the quantum levels. Example, consider that I am walking along a road and need to turn left at the next turning to go to my destination. Now the quantum entities inside my body keep moving here and there at random, with complete disregard to the phenomena of cause and effect. But they will, in their trillions, be at the right places, at the right times, to ensure that I am turning left and not going straight or turning right. And in case something happens to me before I turn left, such as I get hit by a car or something, the classical world of the car hitting me informs the quantum world of the changes in the probability. And the quantum particles inside me will be at the right places at the right times to make sure that I fall down. Provided, of course, that the impact of the car was sufficient for the purpose. It's a hugely mysterious connection.
Another example. You see that road leading towards a T-junction? If you turn left at the T-junction, you're proceeding towards a 50,000 capacity cricket stadium where an international match is about to start, and a capacity crowd is expected to see the match. On the other hand, if you turn right at the T-junction, you're proceeding towards a 10,000 capacity auditorium where a rock concert is due to start at about the same time as the cricket match, and a capacity crowd is anticipated there too. You see that helicopter over there? Someone from the helicopter is looking at what's happening below. He sees a huge crowd moving towards the T-junction. He cannot say for sure if a particular individual in the crowd is going to turn left or turn right, but he can very well calculate that the probability of the individual turning left is 5 on 6 and that of his turning right is 1 on 6. This is how quantum entities behave. We cannot say what they are going to do, but can fix probabilities. What exactly is that mysterious connection?
Here is that connection. It's the information in the intelligent field that is responsible for the phenomena. This is a computational universe. It's a machine that processes information. The universe computes, and this is a mathematical fact. Quantum bits keep programming the universe all the time. But the trouble is randomness. Keeps tampering with the programs, and the randomness is a consequence of the fact that millions of such programs are running in parallel, and many of them interact with each other, and most of these interactions are unforeseen.
To give you an idea of how randomness tampers with programs, let me explain with an example. A hypothetical case study to show you how a plain and simple walk in the garden resulted in the death of more than 20 million people. Now, this man called X was having a nice time taking a walk on that lovely evening, and then a mosquito bites him. He didn't know about it, he didn't feel anything. He kept walking. After a couple of days, he was shivering. It was high fever. It was malaria. He was admitted in a hospital. He was treated for malaria, and he came home and went on with his life. No big deal, but 150 years later, nearly 20 million people died. Who would not have died had this man called X not been admitted to that hospital where he was treated for malaria, and a beautiful nurse looked after him well? How could that be possible? This is how. The man called X fell in love with that beautiful young lady who was his nurse, and they later got married. They had a daughter, and she was Hitler's grandmother.
So there is information in the field and there is randomness. And of course there are these laws of physics and chemistry, not forgetting the second law of thermodynamics. And the flow of information, and that includes genetic information, happens strictly in accordance with these laws of physics and chemistry. Now we come to the information that exists on the planet Earth. It's made of good information as well as evil information. The laws of science cannot control randomness, and this randomness cannot differentiate between good and evil. There is plenty of evil information available, such as terrorism, religious extremism, conflicts and wars, intolerance of other religions, arrogance, selfishness, not forgetting corruption at high places, cruelty towards other living creatures, environmental degradation, etc., etc. So much so that it would not be wrong to conclude that this is Kali Yuga. All that evil information, coupled with the information relating to population explosion and the presence of large-scale nuclear arsenal, are the inputs based on which several scientists and philosophers are predicting the end of human civilization in the next few centuries.
But don't worry, there is this intelligent field and plenty of good information available on the planet Earth to be used as inputs to enable us to prepare a designed sequence of events that can prevent this collapse of human civilization. And this design will endeavor to take care of randomness to the extent it is possible to do so. Just as it is possible to design a structure to withstand the impact of all the forces such as earthquakes, cyclones, tornadoes, etc. caused by randomness. In the same way, it should be possible to prepare a design to save us from self-destruction. There are plenty of beautiful minds who can come together in a seminar to work on that design.
And it is precisely this design that the author is working on in his books. Chapter 6 of 6 words, all of 130 pages, is all about that design, where he has made full use of the information made available by the great scientists and philosophers of the past and present, the beautiful minds, as the inputs on the basis of which he has developed a model of philosophy, which he feels has the best chance of fusing science with religion, which in turn will pave the way to end conflicts and wars and save us from extinction. And the trump card of that standard model of philosophy are the 6 words. How did the idea of an omnipresent, infinite mind strike the mind of the author?
Thank you. This is actually like a thought experiment to give you an idea of how a mind can be like an infinite mind, omnipresent, not just in space, but also in time. Consider that I, call me A2, right now at this very moment, while giving this talk, decide to look outside the window towards the sky and start gazing at a galaxy. My friends tell me that it is such and such, and it is 7 billion light years away. In that galaxy, there's a star like our sun. I'm looking at it too. Within the planetary system of that star, there is a planet like our Earth. I'm looking at it too. On that planet, there's a man called A1, and he too is looking outside his window. In principle, no one can say that I'm not looking at him now. I see him now, but according to him, the universe is only 7 billion years old, whereas according to me, it is 14 billion years old. But we are in the same universe. Astonishing, is it not? But of course, A1 knows the truth. He is a cosmologist. In principle, it is also possible he is now thinking about me, as I am now starting to think about the man called A3 on a planet orbiting a star in a galaxy which is 14 billion light years away. And it is he who is looking at me. and his universe is 28 billion years old. I cannot see him as he is in my future. If I am really able to look that far out from my window, I should then be looking at the Big Bang as it unfolds. Same as A1 if he were looking as far out from his window as he is from me. And then there is A4, whose universe is 56 billion years old. A5, whose universe is 112 billion years old. A6, 224 billion years. A7, 448 billion years. And so on and so forth. So it seems different people living in different galaxies, scattered far apart from each other, think the age of the universe is different from each other. We are just a select few who think the universe to be 14 billion years old. Let's now talk about the mind. Now this mind is standing effectively outside of time and contemplating all this. The mind has no problem whatsoever in arranging this connectivity. All these guys, A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, etc., are now looking outside their windows and thinking about each other. They have studied quantum physics and cosmology and understand what's happening. How can all this be possible unless it is the same mind everywhere, who was once the superconscious? And so this good old mind of ours is not only omnipresent in space, but also in time. And in principle, it explains quantum entanglement. The mere fact that there is such a thing as quantum entanglement implies instant connectivity. And this connectivity is impossible to imagine, except by consideration of an omnipresent mind. So it boils down to this: quantum entanglement and infinite mind complement each other. Infinite mind explains quantum entanglement, and quantum entanglement explains infinite mind. But I can't get away with this. What exactly is quantum entanglement? What exactly is quantum entanglement? And who am I to talk about it? What is my locus standi? I am not a scientist, let alone quantum physicist. I am just a structural engineer. True, I have a degree in science and a degree in civil engineering. But for all practical purposes, an engineer is an indifferent scientist and not a bothered scientist. So it was a daunting task for me to write this book. But I did write it, and believe it or not, I wrote a chapter on quantum entanglement, all of 40 pages. How did I do it? Simple. I just got myself bothered. I remembered the Pink Floyd lines, "There's someone in my head, and it is not me," from the album Dark Side of the Moon. I read books on the subject, plenty of them, and I borrowed the wisdom and knowledge of the great scientists of the world and installed that first as someone in my head, and then I put it on my laptop, and finally it's there in the book. Now I'm not going to talk about quantum entanglement for the simple reason that I need 10,000 words, 40 pages to do so. It's better you read the book. But I do want to say a few words on quantum physics, rather on the understanding of quantum physics. To be sure, it's extraordinarily complex and difficult to understand. It is safe to say that as on date, there is no one in the world who has a complete understanding of it. There is, however, a certain level of understanding X, which, if it can be reached, can enable us to understand the philosophical impacts of the subject, which in turn can change our lives, our mindset for the better. My advice to all who have not reached that level: you better reach that level. In that chapter on quantum entanglement, I have endeavored to place the complete story of quantum physics and its sequential development over the years on a platter for the benefit of the readers, to enable them to reach that level X In 40-odd pages, they will learn enough quantum physics to be able to understand and appreciate the philosophical impacts of the subject. And it is these philosophical impacts that lead us towards a better understanding of the nature of God and reality and the meaning of life. Quantum physics is also enormous fun. Example, see that painting, Quantum Dilemma, where Einstein and Niels Bohr are in debate on the most important question, the completeness or incompleteness of quantum physics, the very essence of reality. In my opinion, this debate between Einstein and Bohr, running into several rounds and culminating in the EPR paradox, which is explained in the book, is the ultimate in the uniqueness of the human brain, which in turn is the uniqueness of all uniquenesses, the World Cup of all World Cups. And here's another example. Look at another painting here about the double slit experiment. What if I tell you that the electron which leaves the emitter and travels to the detector screen through those slits is aware of the experimental setup and acts in accordance with that awareness? I won't tell you anything more. Read the book for all the explanations and countless other very interesting examples to show what fun it is to ride on quantum physics and cosmology. And there is no reason to assume or believe that only qualified scientists should have fun with quantum physics and cosmology. It is there for everyone to enjoy.
Six Words is an autobiographical epic story. Epic in the dictionary sense to mean, quote, extending beyond the usual or ordinary, especially in size or scope, end quote. Sagar begins his personal journey at the Big Bang origin of the universe with, quote, I am a quark, end quote. He progresses to become an atom of hydrogen, then helium, and finally explodes out of a supernova towards Earth as a carbon atom, as our planetary system has formed. On Earth, he becomes an organic molecule, and after millions of years, he finally becomes a structural engineer. This book is a tour de force of the major physical sciences, theology, and philosophy. Sagar goes deeply into each, explaining in clear terms very complex subjects. The book then moves to a hypothetical seminar in which the major scientists and philosophers gather to compare notes and thinking. Einstein is there along with Erwin Schrödinger, Charles Sherrington, John Wheeler, Eugene Wigner, and many other top scientists from history. This is a major 5-star book written by a serious student, thinker, and observer of the sciences of the universe. The book's aim is to draw religion and science together in a way that leaves established scientific laws and rules intact. The 6 words do exactly that. I will leave it to the reader to have the joy of uncovering Sagar's 6 words.
What comes out clearly is that he has researched, studied, and synthesized evolution of physics through the works of almost all important scientists and thinkers. The initial part is mostly the evolution story as widely known to the scientific world. Passion and enthusiasm to share the meaning of these scientific work and his own views, speculations on the subject is really amazing. The way these ideas have been presented is like a script for a Discovery Science program. If a video commentary is done, it will make it immensely interesting. The coverage of scientific events and sense-making of these through cross-references, analysis, examples, and personal viewpoint gives the reader a grand canvas to shift to the next section. At times, the reader is overwhelmed by the sheer weight of the discussion amongst the stalwarts and the experiments referred here. I could understand some as I have read most of them before. He used quantum physics as a backdrop to the questions in the realm of metaphysics to discuss different philosophical questions. Truth versus scientific journey. The existence of a probabilistic universe, the place of an observer, the meaning of God, the concept of one mind, the meaning of religion, possible self-destruction of this civilization, how the world and its leaders can come together to change the course. Towards the end, the intent is revealed to spread a message of oneness and existential truth that can bring harmony to our world. The choice is ours. I did not understand the 6 words though, which the writer expects the reader to discover. Many possible thoughts occurred, such as one mind, one consciousness, one God.
And finally, it is not that I wrote this book, 6 words. It is that it was written by me, consequent on the interactions of the world on me. I even do not know if this, the writing of the book, is attributed mainly to the revolving doors of chance or to the existence of a certain intelligent field that has created probabilities that books of this kind should be written to prevent the human civilization from getting extinct. Thank you.